Things off. Please note that each human being is unique. For further understanding of the subject matter, please be advised to consult your preferred healthcare professional. And getting into it, this I believe is our fourth special. We're taking a look at the imposter syndrome. This is something that you and I, Letsha, have been looking at. We've had 2 episodes on. The first episode, we're just taking a look at the imposter syndrome from a general perspective, and we did get to touch on what usually we see it being linked to professional life. Then our second episode, we moved away from the professional life and we looked at it within the personal life, within the friendship realm of a human being's life, because at that time, was just trying to also just to see if does this thing only exist when it comes to professional life, or does it also exist moving away from professional life? I believe that's what we've done so far.
Yeah, that is a good synopsis of what we've covered.
And this time around, we have a guest who is an HR specialist. Getting into it, as always, I'm going to let you and him conversate. I'll jump in where I can jump in. As always, I don't know if you would want to give like a 30-second explanation of what the imposter syndrome is for a person who's tuning in for the first time.
Yeah. All right. So we did discuss that the imposter syndrome primarily is a condition, a disorder kind of, that affects individuals when they feel or find themselves in a space and they just feel like they don't belong. They've done everything to earn the space, or they've earn whatever it is that they are being awarded at that point, but they just feel like it's not, they can't, the feeling to connect with that thing or connect with the environment that they find themselves in, because they feel like at any point in time, somebody could come and pat them on the shoulder and say, yeah, they've discovered you now. It's time to go, time to pack up your stuff. Primarily, it's that feeling where, you have something or you're at work and you just feel like, is it really me? Do I really deserve everything that is happening? They're calling me a manager. No, could I really be a manager? Things like that. So it's a projection kind of thing. And we did discuss that it really stems from certain self-esteem issues. Not to say that it happens all the time as a result of low self-esteem. It could be an environmental thing, but more often than not, we see it stemming from poor self-esteem. So that's basically what we have discussed so far. What's your opinion, Manase? Where have you interacted with imposter syndrome, and what's been your experience with it?
Basically, for me, it starts from the interview phases.
Yeah.
Whereby you now start interviewing people. You see that this person has potential to actually come and contribute something, but there's something that is holding them back to actually express themselves the way you want them to express. Because you could see that this person might have certain points that they can say that will actually help you tick the boxes with them, help you actually finalize the deal right there and there in the interview. But they're holding back because they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in the experience that they have. They don't believe in whatever they do. And because of that, you end up having to re-interview the person for the second time, hoping that this time they can come. So it comes in as some sort of a cost to the organization in terms of now having to spend money again to actually help them come back again. And now, if you employ that person, that means now you have a personal development plan that you need to set out for this person, so this person can actually realize their full potential.
Yeah.
So in that sense, now this person is coming in for an interview, and thinking of ahead of having to set up this program to get them in. Is it like, since you are an HR specialist, is it like a realistic thing for every interview that happens where a company is sitting there like, okay, love, but hey, ready session every 2 weeks. Is it a realistic thing?
It's not really a realistic thing. If you come to an interview and we see that there's potential, but you're not portraying it, we actually would want somebody who portrays that potential. So that means we leave you behind and go and get somebody that is less costly to the organization in terms of their development.
Yeah.
So you lose that opportunity just because of the imposter syndrome. So organizations actually do not want to get involved in such issues.
Yeah.
That is why you hear Mutotemoto was fired for poor performance. But this person is not really fired for poor performance. Just that there is the imposter syndrome. They don't believe in themselves. So they are not able to reach their full potential.
I'm curious though, at interview stage, how do you see it? What are the signs that somebody may be dealing with imposter syndrome?
The way you ask them questions, the way they respond.
Okay.
It is just that there's that lacking or that missing piece to their story that they're not saying. But you can see that this person really has something to say, but they're struggling to say whatever it is that they want to say. Because they don't know if I say this, but will these people believe me? Will these people actually put me above and beyond all these other people?
I like how you spoke about story because I have been studying, preparing for interviews lately, and I've come across this trend that is now the modern kind of trend, because these things change over time. And nowadays people are being encouraged to tell their story and just be more storytellers when they get to the interview room, talk about themselves, talk about their achievements and all of that. And that's very difficult for somebody who's dealing with imposter syndrome, because half the time they're wondering whether any of these things that they have done and they have achieved, if they're worth anything, if they're worth mentioning, because there's also the standardized accolades, right? Your masters, your doctorates and all of that. But there's also really important things that people achieve, not just through position, but by virtue of them being in a certain environment, not just at work, even at a community level, that there's really significant things that we see people doing in the community. One lady comes to mind. She works for DHMT and she's doing amazing work for people in Maung. She's getting them registered she mobilizes homeless kids or street kids, and she helps them get omangs and all of that. These aren't things that you typically talk about at interview stage or typically write in your CV, but there's significant milestones, there's significant achievements. And I know that there are young people out there who are doing the same, especially now in the time of unemployment where everybody has to be creative about finding things to do. So it's these things that need to be expressed, need to be brought out, but we're not hearing them because of this imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to just hold that thought, Mr. Manase, before you do tackle that one. It's Gabz FM, power to engage your world. Do keep it locked. And just getting back in conversation with psychotherapist Kgotla, as well as Mr. Manase, who is an HR specialist, Opedi Manase. And Letsha had just thrown a scenario at you of realistic things where somebody, before they even go for an interview, they're doing great things within the community. Because she had also asked you on how do you pick this up during an interview? Like how, just looking at that one where somebody, you see that CV or okay, this is the stuff they've done before they come to you, but
sometimes the CV doesn't tell the whole story. Having a conversation with you, I always tell people that an interview is not an investigation and all that. It's just a conversation between two people to try and find out if they can work together. So I need to know who you are as Kayla when I interview you for a position. So the things that you do that you think don't matter actually matter, because it shows that you can actually go. Like the story that she's saying about for the person who's working for the DMG, but she doesn't have to go that extra and actually get the young kids to get omans and all those things. That's not her responsibility. But it shows to me as your potential employer that you can go the extra mile and actually do things out of your own purview and out of your own skill set. Ensure that the job gets done. So you leave things behind because you think they don't matter, because you think those achievements are not really achievements. Anybody can do that. But those achievements are actually the achievements that will actually put you over and above everybody else to even say, but we need this person more. Because looking at certain things, we might even be hiring you to become our manager for a certain position, but we see that, but she has that potential to actually contribute our CSR projects because of the work that she's been doing outside. So it's a conversation that you need to bring out. So whatever that you do out there in your own personal space and in your own day, the question when they ask you, who are you? We need you to put out that into the open so that we take it from there that, oh, this is the person that actually can contribute.
Yeah. And I think, telling the story is a lot more powerful than saying, that short phrase in the CV that says, I go the extra mile.
Yeah.
I am hardworking. When you tell the story and tell what you've done, it's much more powerful. It's much more impactful. It makes more sense. Now it gives flesh to the picture and, it's a lot more believable, no?
Because even if you can actually say, I have skills and I'm an analytical thinker and all these things, but telling the story, I'm going to just pick, oh, this person is a very analytical thinker. This person is futuristic. This person is this. From the story, from whatever it is that you do from the outside.
Yeah.
So your story makes more sense than whatever that you put on paper.
Yeah.
Because you put something on paper, we're just definitely going to ask you about it. And if you can't substantiate it, then it sets you off on the wrong path.
Yeah.
All right. Now, looking at the fact that you've sat through many interviews and you've had a chat with many potential employees, when you look at the Botswana landscape, when it comes to the labor market, people trying to get jobs and people already within jobs and hiring, let me put it this way, is there a big problem of the imposter syndrome in Botswana?
It is. It's really there in a very large scale. It's just that a lot of people have not actually started looking at it that way. Even starting from the interview and even in the workplaces. You see, now I was telling you a story about you see these employees who are on performance improvement plans and all these things. But really, it's not about how they are. Sometimes you see imposter syndrome. You correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
It's actually contributed to by the organization, the culture, and the management style of the organization.
Oh, yes.
So if I'm an employee and I come there and my manager is always telling me that I'm not good for anything, so it comes to me and I develop the imposter syndrome. And I can bet you in 90% of the organizations, we have such kind of people who actually are not nurturing or coaching their subordinates. They actually want to put them down so that they can remain in those positions.
Protecting the job, basically.
Protecting the job, basically.
No, continue.
Yeah. So you would say that it's there, but people would say on a low scale, but it's identified on a low scale. But it's actually happening on a larger scale.
And I don't think we actually have any accurate statistics. I don't think it's part of our engagement surveys, for example, that we conduct. Typically, you don't find people or you don't find a section where we're trying to investigate whether people actually feel like they deserve the positions that they're serving.
You know what I'm going to do, because of the time, what I'm going to do on the second hour, we'll take up 5 to 6 minutes just to wrap it up nicely, because this is a very important conversation in terms of, because I want Letsha now to, when we do end off, to break it off nicely and make a person who's listening in understand better, because during our conversation around mental health, you find that there is a lot of confusion as to what this is and what this is not. And this speaks to what you mentioned, Honore. It's there in a large scale, but we tend to say it's not there. And like Letsha also mentioned, Honore, when it comes to like issues that affect Babereki, it's probably, there's no box where you can tick, okay, this is imposter syndrome. You find that it's probably the basic things like basic in terms of, I'm not, I can't say light in terms of, is where they'll say depression and all this, and they forget about some of these things are led to by issues on imposter syndrome. So what we're going to do, we're getting into the second hour of the show. What we're going to do, we're going to wrap up this conversation nicely, because for me, it's one of those important conversations that we need to have. It's one of those that you as a person listening in need to get a bit more of an understanding, because it doesn't only affect your professional life. Everything that affects your professional life tend to always trickle into your personal life. So do keep a look to And if you're just joining in, please note that each human being is unique. For further understanding of the subject matter, please be advised to consult your preferred healthcare professional. And we continue the conversation around the imposter syndrome. Joining me in studio is a psychotherapist, Kgotla, as well as HR specialist, Mr. Opedi Manase. And, we're finding a way to just wrap it up nicely, because this is one of those conversation that can take hours. We've put out examples of how, you come for an interview, and because maybe of the imposter syndrome, you might not express yourself the way you could have expressed yourself, because your CV can only have as much words as possible. And I take it again, CV, 10-page novel.
You don't want no.
Yeah, you see? And we've also talked about, how it's unrealistic. For most companies, they can afford for an interview about okay, no, cool. We'll put them on this, we'll attest them to Letsha for 2 months, so that she can help the person get their mind right, so that we see potential.
Yeah.
Not a lot of companies have that within them.
No,
within the HR department, they don't have that.
They just want somebody who's ready-made who can just begin the work immediately right there.
Yes, and you did mention Honor in Botswana. It's a big problem, the imposter syndrome. We just tend to... Now, looking at all that we've said, how do we move forward? For a person who's listening in, they may need a bit of something that will help them come to terms with whatever it is they're dealing with. Maybe they, as we're speaking about pick up, or okay, maybe imposter syndrome. Going forward, HR specialist, psychotherapist, within your professions, you work together.
Yeah.
Yes. Going forward, we have a big problem here, imposter syndrome, Botswana. What do we do? What does a person do?
Yeah. I think it's so important for people to, and I think I've seen this working for myself as well, because remember, Caleb, I did do a bit of self-disclosure in this topic that, I have also battled my fair share of imposter syndrome. And what has worked for me is just repeating my story in my own mind and just reminding myself of, some of the things that I've been able to do over time and how these things have impacted other people, and how they've managed to, how these things are, some in present tense, continuing to improve people's lives, and also some that have improved people's lives before. And just think about that, and think about the impact, think about the positivity, think about the contribution that all of that is. And it gives you, or it affirms you in a positive way that, yes, indeed, you really are somebody who has been able to achieve 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it isn't your achievements, you can also look into your character as an individual to say, okay, this is, the kind of person I am, and I'm happy to be this person because of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it's a different thing completely. If you look into both these spaces and you can't find anything, then we're not dealing with imposter syndrome. We're dealing with something completely different. But if you are somebody of noble achievements, of noble character, you should be able to really sit in that and, embody it, own it, because that truly is you. And you deserve everything that all that it has to offer or brings with it.
Yes. Mr. Manase, from your point of view, Letsha gave that the holistic approach from a personal point of view. Whereas more to now, already say you're hearing all these things. How do you move away from this thing? From an HR perspective, now we're not just talking to people who are trying to get into jobs, because I can get into a job and then find out, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
And this problem is going to cost you. But because of you want a paycheck at the end of the day, you'll suffer through. Then 2-3 years down the line, we hear that you took your own life.
Yeah.
So from an HR perspective, what are the ways that organizations can, because we have people who are listening in, a person who's listening in is probably an owner of a company. It doesn't matter how small or how big it is.
Yes.
What can be done?
I'm going to throw around a concept called psychological safety in the workplace.
Oh, yes.
This is whereby employees and employers, but mostly employees, are able to express themselves without actually feeling that somebody's going to take whatever that they say. I'm able to express my ideas to my supervisor, whom I know that in this space will not use these ideas against me, will not actually bully me because of certain ideas that I have, will not bully me whether I'm impulsive or not. And the moment you have psychological safety in the workplace, employees become open enough to actually express themselves, open enough to actually bring out ideas and actually speak. So they might even be open enough to talk to you that, hey, you know what, I think I have imposter syndrome. This is what I'm dealing with. So
I'll be away from work.
I'll be away. Hey, this is what I'm actually dealing with. And then you can find the help within a very short period of time for them and actually help them through that period.
Yeah,
But
like that.
But the moment we actually work in our silos, in different corners and all these things, I think one would say it's a breeding ground for imposter syndrome.
Yes.
It actually becomes a catalyst. For imposter
Amongst
syndrome.
other things.
Amongst other things, yes.
All right. Like I say, this topic here, we can look at many angles, but unfortunately, we work within a specific time frame. Now, quickly, Letsha, where can one find you on social media if they want to get further understanding? Actually, no, how we usually do it. Let's start with the guests and then Letsha will end off. Opedi Manase, quickly, your social media platforms for a person wanting to know more.
My name's Opedi Manase. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Just the name, Opedi Manase.
All right.
So just look me up and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Letsha Kgotla?
As well, you can find me on Facebook and on LinkedIn, Kgotla, as well as you can contact me directly, rather, on my cell phone on 72383085.
Love's Lounge.